Good morning. Thanks for joining us for our last Surfliner sprint review and demo for this winter work cycle. Tamsin will be sharing out what was accomplished for Comet Sprint 32 and Daylight Sprint 4. Before I hand it off to her, I want to remind everybody that we will hold our Surfliner end of work cycle update for stakeholders next Thursday at 11 o'clock. It should be on everyone's calendars, and if it's not, please let me know. Tamsin?
Sure, yeah. I'm going to start by apologizing for the sparseness of the demo and point us in the direction of that end of work cycle wrap up for a more hands-on walkthrough, not only of what we've done this past sprint, but also in general. We're having a little bit of a infrastructure side problem just for the staging, the Comet staging at UCSB, which unfortunately is the only stack that I am like ever reasonably prepared to demo on. That the production stack seems fine, but I don't have test data in there to show you things. So I'm going to start by just talking through. I think I'm going to screen share the board here, and we can talk through the things that we did this sprint. You can see there's a lot of stuff in closed and in review. Many of these in review things are actually like I think this one wants to be moved to QA. There going to be a few of these things that either got merged this morning or are in last stages of review that are going to get closed out. This one wants to go to QA. Okay, so we did fix a couple of bugs. Most notably, we fixed this Comet no method error bug on reimport. And this was the main thing keeping us from being able to demo a round trip import export. Now the main thing keeping us from being able to demo that is infrastructure problem. So I am planning to demo a real like reasonably scaled round trip import, export, change data, re-import it style workflow for us at the end of work cycle update. That was really our biggest goal on Comet work for the work cycle. So that was great. Early in this sprint, we did some work to talk about the publish feature set for both for collections, and Gabrielle and I did some scoping outside of that discussion for how object publish and unpublish should really be working. So we did a whole bunch of UI work to make the publish to front end feature set make a little bit more sense. We basically just removed all the features for publishing collections because we felt we didn't have a clear definition of what it meant to publish a collection. And it's now possible, in addition to handling publishing through the workflow, to unpublish and publish like arbitrarily objects to different front ends. That's really notable because the daylight work that I'm going to show you as we wrap up talking about Comet does, and I will actually demo the daylight work, does come with a real integration with Comet. So it is actually possible for us, if we have all the pieces wired in right, for us to do publish to daylight using the front ends that I'm going to show you. We wrapped up some dangling work on the representative images for collections, which I partially demoed in the past. We did some minor like cleanup on things like the featured objects badge, which just felt like they were derived mainly from upstream Hyrax behavior that was sort of targeted at self-deposit type repositories rather than something more like Comet. And we also fixed this rather significant bug on deleting on how objects that have file set or other object members components delete. So the behavior that we've implemented now that I've just like moved into QA here is that if I delete an object, any of its file set or component objects, object members get deleted as long as they are not also members independently of other objects or collections. So in Comet, it's possible for an object to be a component of multiple objects or for a component object to be a member of different collections than its parent. So we wanted to be careful that when you delete an object, only the orphaned members get deleted and not the ones that belong to other things. So that's implemented, and that fixes a bug on delete. We have some pretty far along work in progress. I think like this. So I mentioned that we have the publish and unpublished behavior. The published side of that is merged. I think the unpublished side is going to make it through this sprint. Longshoe also fixed this bug around embargo date time validation. So I think like there was an edge case in the form where if you set an embargo to expire tomorrow and it's after like 5 p.m. or something, right? Like there's some edge case where Comet understood the time to be UTC and then judged that the date that you picked wasn't in the future. So you could like run into this error, which tends to be an error that comes up mostly for demo use cases. Like I normally want to set embargoes to expire tomorrow because I'm doing a toy embargo, not because I have a real embargo, but it was an opportunity for us to iron out some of that behavior. This edit replace a file stuff I think is going to get merged this sprint as well. Or did we already merge that this morning, Longshoe? I think we might have. In fact, I'm going to move that to QA. There's also some work in progress on this exporter time behavior. So I guess the long and short of it is like a lot of very disparate Comet work got done. Also, the big deliverable that we really wanted to see happen, the bulk round tripping, got done. I think some of this stuff that's marked in progress, I need to go through and make sure that that it gets closed out. I think like the only thing about embargo management that needs done is for us to validate that the acceptance criteria for that are met, or that follow-up tickets are in place for it. Okay, so that's Comet. I'm sorry that there's not a demo. My demo for Comet is manage staging. We're sorry, something went wrong. But I do have a nice little package demo for the daylight work. And here we still haven't done any styling work for these daylight micro front ends. But I can show you that daylight exists. This page is built from 3 independent components. There's a header that deploys on its own, and this is just like, I'm like, sorry that it's ugly. We could make it nice looking. We might make it nice looking in time for the demo next Thursday. We'll see. I've loaded into this Daylight instance a number of objects, which I've just titled generic object 1, 2, 3, etc. And I think there are perhaps 10 of them. And we have here a search box, which is also independently deployed, and a sort, like, almost as as an example of the kinds of micro front ends we might build for this Daylight stack. Little like featured objects carousel. And it's not a carousel because there's no styling, but it's structured like a featured objects list. And what we have that we're building out with Daylight is this set of micro front end components that can be sort of like glued together over a blacklight application to make the whole infrastructure work. And I can do so. I loaded this data in by standing up the Comet metadata API super skunk, and by publishing messages as if they were coming from Comet. The stack that you see here isn't connecting to an actual Comet, but I published like the equivalent kinds of event messages saying these objects should be published to Daylight now, as if I pushed the button in the Comet UI or went through a workflow step that publishes to Daylight. And then what happened is that a separate component from this whole stack that you see here is watching that queue and grabs the data from the metadata from the Comet front end, or sorry, from the Comet metadata API, and loads it into the index. And then all of these components use the data from that index. So importantly, search works. The missing thumbnails are because there are no thumbnails for these objects. And I can get a search listing. I guess there's only 5 of these. Oh, I thought that there was 10 because they go to their IDs are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or sorry, 1, 3, 5, 6, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So they're odd numbered IDs. There's only 5 of them. So yeah, so I've indexed these all with different titles and all with the same authors. They click through to the object show page, which in the stack that I have here doesn't actually load the object because that object's not indexed. Oh, and of course I can't actually show you the object show page because it pulls from the Comet manifests, which aren't available because Comet's down. So yeah, so the stack, what exists in Daylight at this point is this broad infrastructure for building small components and gluing them together over the search index. This actual search box, which works. This search results page, which also like basically works. We didn't get to doing facets or refinements in this space just yet. And like mainly the point of this featured items carousel is just to prove that like we can inject multiple components into a page and sort of like glue together a structure. That's what we've done for Daylight. I mean, I think it would. I sort of wish that we had a sharper UI demo here. Like if there were neat stylings and I could show you these objects in the show view. But we have demoed the Clover based object show before. These that it would be nice if these looked sharp. We may try to make them look sharp for the end of work cycle wrap up. But mainly the takeaway here is we did actually get infrastructure built out for the broad like Daylight technical strategy, the Comet integration exists. It's possible to publish from Comet to Daylight, and what remains is to sort of churn on these micro front ends until they look real sharp. And that's it. That's what I got. Do we have questions before we do wrap up? Do you have anything that you want to say to wrap up, Gabriella?
I don't. I just want to thank you all for this extra long work cycle. I think it benefited us in many ways. It looks like you guys got a lot done, especially with the Daylight front end. I congratulate everybody working on that. And Comet's work still kept going, so you all did super wonderful. Thank you all. I'm going to stop recording.